your fridge right now. Like, just pull open that little horizontal drawer at the bottom. You know, the one where the cheese and the Lunchables usually live.
Right, the meat and cheese drawer.
Exactly. Is there a plastic tub in there? Or maybe, a package tightly wrapped in white paper with that little barcode sticker keeping it shut.
Probably sitting right on top of some American cheese.
Yeah, exactly. And inside is this neat, perfect stack of sliced deli turkey. I mean, for decades, we have been conditioned to view that exact item as the ultimate safe protein, right?
Oh, 100%. It's the lunchbox champion.
It really is. Lean, healthy, and above all, completely natural. Just a bird that was roasted and sliced up. But today, we're doing a deep dive into a stack of industry sources, nutritional analyses, and FDA traceability reports. And let me tell you, it completely shatters that illusion.
It really is a remarkably well-constructed illusion, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, because when you look at the supply chain and the actual biochemical engineering that goes into that plastic tub, a totally different picture emerges.
And it's not a pretty one.
No, not at all. We are no longer looking at simple farming or traditional roasting here. We're looking at this incredibly complex, highly optimized system of food engineering.
Which is just wild for turkey.
It is. I mean, the everyday crime at the deli counter isn't necessarily that they're serving you poison. It's that they are committing baseline financial fraud, and your biology is the one paying the toll.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that is a wild place to start. Financial fraud.
Yeah, financial fraud.
I mean, I just want a sandwich, and I'll be honest, when I go to the grocery store, I actually purposefully skip that prepackaged meat aisle.
A lot of people do.
Right, because I walk right past those plastic tubs. I want the real stuff.
Yeah.
So I go to the actual deli counter, I take a little paper number, and I wait my turn.
You want the experience.
Yes. I interact with a human being who is operating this massive metal meat slicer. That whole ritual just feels so, I don't know, artisanal, authentic.
It feels closer to the farm.
Exactly. Are you telling me that whole ritual is a scam?
Well, I wouldn't call the human interaction a scam, but the product itself. That is absolute theater.
The theater.
Wow. Yeah. Our industry sources reveal that the massive log of turkey, the one riding back and forth on that deli slicer, is, well, in the vast majority of cases, it's the exact same engineered, sectioned, and formed meat roll that's sitting in the plastic tubs in aisle 4.
Wait, really? The exact same one?
The exact same one. It arrives at the grocery store in a plastic casing. The deli worker simply cuts off the casing, loads it onto the slicer, and hands you a sample.
No way.
Yeah. The only practical difference between the deli counter and the prepackaged aisle is that the deli counter removes the label.
Oh, man. That is so sneaky.
It is, because they take away the fine print. You're paying a premium per pound for the aesthetic of freshness, but you are surrendering your ability to read the ingredient list.
Which is the most important part.
Exactly. And if you could read that list, you would immediately run into what the food industry quietly refers to as the turkey math problem.
The turkey math problem. Okay, I'm intrigued. Walk me through the math on this.
So think about the physical anatomy of a real turkey.
Okay, like the actual bird.
Right. It has bones, it has legs, dark meat, wings, a rib cage.
Yeah, lots of parts that aren't breast meat.
Exactly. Biologically, a whole turkey is roughly 40% breast meat by weight.
Okay, 40%.
Yet when you walk down the aisle of any American grocery store, the deli cases are wall-to-wall turkey breast.
Just massive logs of it everywhere.
Everywhere. If you actually calculate the sheer volume of perfectly uniform turkey breast sitting in American supermarkets on any given Tuesday, it vastly outruns the biological limits of the actual physical population of farmed birds.
Oh, wow. That actually makes total sense when you put it like that. It's a mathematical impossibility.
It really is.
It's like, I don't know, trying to build a massive 10-room log cabin when your forest only has 3 trees.
That's a great analogy.
So if the supply of actual breast meat doesn't match the volume in the deli case, what on earth am I actually buying?
You're buying what the meat processing industry calls a restructured loaf.
A restructured loaf? That sounds so industrial.
It does, because back in the middle of the last century, food scientists realized they couldn't balance that mathematical equation honestly. So they learned how to stretch a very small amount of real breast meat into a massive, highly profitable yield.
How do they stretch it?
Well, they take the smaller pieces of meat, the trim, the scraps that are left over after the primary cuts are removed for, premium products.
Right, the leftovers.
Yeah. They take those scraps and they stretch them using water, starches, seaweed gums, and salt.
Wait. How do you take scraps and make them look like one giant, pristine, perfectly sliceable oval of meat?
It takes a lot of engineering.
Like if I take a bunch of chicken scraps in my kitchen and press them together, they just fall apart the second I try to slice them?
That's where the mechanical engineering comes in. If you look at the back of a cheaper package of deli meat like Aldi's Lunchmate line, for example, because of federal regulations, those budget brands often have to explicitly state their manufacturing process. You'll actually see the phrase chopped and formed or sectioned and formed.
Sectioned and formed. That sounds like how you manufacture drywall, not food.
It is a highly industrial process. The industry takes all those trimmings and puts them into giant industrial mechanical tumblers.
Tumblers.
Yeah. Imagine a concrete mixer, but made of stainless steel.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
They add salt and water, and they tumble the meat for hours.
Hours, just spinning around.
Just spinning. The physical agitation, combined with the salt, causes the muscle fibers to break down and release a specific protein called myosin.
Myosin, okay.
And myosin is incredibly sticky. It essentially acts as a natural meat glue.
Wait, so they are literally beating the meat until it sweats out its own adhesive?
That is a very accurate, if slightly gross way to describe it. Yeah.
That is wild.
So once that myosin is extracted and the entire mass is sufficiently sticky, they pump this slurry into uniform molds.
Ah, that's how they get those perfect ovals you see at the deli.
Exactly. And then they cook it into a single solid loaf. The heat sets the myosin, gluing everything together perfectly.
So when the deli worker slices it, it behaves like it's one piece of meat.
Right. It behaves as if it were one continuous muscle. But at a microscopic level, it's a composite of thousands of scraps glued together.
This is blowing my mind right now. And you said the cheap brands put chopped and formed on the label? What about the expensive brands? Do they do this too?
They do. The premium brands might use slightly larger chunks of trim, or they manipulate the tumbling process just enough to legally avoid using that specific phrasing.
Of course they do.
But the fundamental biochemical process extracting myosin to glue pieces together to optimize yield, that is standard across the vast majority of the industry.
Okay, so they solve the physical structure problem with this mechanical tumbling. But you mentioned earlier they also stretch it with water.
Yes, heavily.
How much water are we actually talking about here?
This is the second major red flag you have to look for on a label. It's usually found in the fine print right under the brand name. It's called the solution percentage.
The solution percentage.
Right. You'll see phrasing like enhanced with up to a 15% solution of water and salt, or contains a 10% solution.
Hold on, let me do the math on that. If I'm buying a 1-pound package of deli turkey for, say, $9.
Which is pretty standard now.
Yeah, and it has a 15% solution.
Uh-huh.
I'm basically paying premium meat prices for 2.5 ounces of salt water.
Mathematically, yes. You are paying $9 a pound for brine.
That is insane.
It is. Brands like Buddig are famous for this. They feature up to a 15% saltwater brine.
How do they even get that much water into the meat?
They use massive arrays of needles. They inject this brine deep into the muscle tissue before it even goes into those tumblers.
Just pumping it full of water.
Yeah, and the industry claims this is to keep the heavily processed meat moist during cooking.
But really, it's just adding massive amounts of weight to the product, right? Because water is practically free, and they're selling it to me at turkey prices.
Exactly.
It's like buying a car, but the dealership tells you 15% of the vehicle's weight is just trapped air, and they're charging you the standard rate for steel.
That is the financial fraud aspect of this whole system. It's brilliant for their profit margins, but it is terrible for the consumer.
But wait, I have a basic physics question here.
Sure, go ahead.
If you pump a sponge full of water, it leaks. If you take a piece of chicken in your kitchen and inject it with a ton of water, the water just runs out onto the cutting board.
It doesn't hold.
So why doesn't my turkey sandwich leave a massive salty puddle on my plate? How are they keeping 15% extra water trapped inside the meat?
That brings us to the chemistry of the third red flag, which is carrageenan.
Carrageenan, I've seen that word before.
To keep that injected water from leaking out, they have to chemically alter the cellular matrix of the meat. Carrageenan is a hydrocolloid that's extracted from red seaweed.
Seaweed in my turkey.
Got it. Yeah, and it's legally allowed to make up to 1.5% of the product's total weight.
What does seaweed actually do in turkey?
On a molecular level, carrageenan has these negatively charged sulfate groups. When you mix it into that tumbling vat of meat and water, Those negative charges interact with the positively charged proteins in the turkey and the water molecules.
Okay, so they bond.
Exactly. As it cooks and then cools down, the carrageenan forms a rigid, three-dimensional gel network.
A gel network.
It literally builds microscopic walls around the water molecules, locking them in place so the slices don't weep brine all over your bread.
Does that change how the meat feels when you eat it? Because I feel like deli turkey has a very specific texture.
Oh, it completely changes the mouthfeel. And this is where the physical deception is just so clever. That carrageenan gel matrix gives the meat a very specific, springy, bounce-back bite.
Yes. If you press your finger into a cheap slice of deli turkey, it feels kind of smooth and rubbery, and it bounces right back.
Exactly. It feels almost like a very thin slice of a bouncy ball.
That's exactly it, a bouncy ball.
And a lot of consumers mistakenly associate that firm, smooth bounce with freshness.
Because it feels snappy.
Right. But real roasted whole muscle turkey doesn't bounce back like a rubber band. Real muscle tears. It has stringy directional fibers.
Yeah, like when you eat Thanksgiving turkey, it shreds.
Precisely. That smooth, uniform bounce at the deli is quite literally the seaweed doing the structural work that the watered-down, chopped-up turkey cannot do on its own.
That is so deceptive. It's like they've trained our brains to prefer the texture of seaweed gel over actual animal protein.
They absolutely have.
But what about the look of it? I'm thinking about a brand like Target's Good and Gather.
Okay.
You look at a slice of their turkey, and it has this beautiful, warm, golden brown edge. It looks exactly like the skin of a turkey that it has been sitting in a roasting pan for hours, just slowly caramelizing in an oven.
I hate to ruin that imagery for you, but that is pure visual theater.
Oh.
That beautiful brown edge is almost certainly caramel color.
Caramel color. Like in soda.
Exactly like in soda.
Oh.
Remember, these restructured loaves are essentially cooked inside a plastic bag or a stainless steel mold. They are subjected to wet heat, not dry heat.
So they don't get crispy or brown.
Right. When they come out of the cooking process, the loaf is completely pale. It looks like a giant boiled white sausage.
Which nobody would ever want to buy.
Precisely. It looks incredibly unappetizing. So to simulate the Maillard reaction, that natural browning of amino acids and sugars you get from a real dry heat oven, they literally paint the outside of the loaf with caramel coloring.
They paint it.
They paint it. It is the exact same synthetic dye used to darken a can of cola. It is entirely aesthetic manipulation to make a boiled, chopped, seaweed-bound sponge look like a rustic Sunday roast.
I feel like I need a shower just thinking about what's in my fridge right now.
It's a lot to process.
It really is. But surely the premium brands are better, right?
That's right.
Like, what about the packages that scream uncured and no nitrates added? I see those everywhere now.
Those are very popular.
Yeah, because people are terrified of synthetic nitrates. So they reach for the expensive packages, like Safeway's premium brands or certain Hilshire Farm lines that have these big, bold green leaves on the label promising they're totally natural.
This is perhaps the most dangerous deception in the entire grocery store.
Really? The natural stuff.
Because it manipulates our direct desire for health. It's called the Uncured loophole, and it relies on something called celery juice powder.
Okay, stop right there. Celery is a vegetable. I put celery in my green smoothies. How is celery juice powder a dangerous loophole?
Let's break down the chemistry here. When a company claims a deli meat is uncured with no nitrates added, there is almost always a tiny asterisk next to that claim.
There's always an asterisk.
Always. And if you follow that asterisk to the very bottom of the back of the package, it will say, except for those naturally occurring in celery powder.
All right.
Here is the biological reality. Celery is a root vegetable that pulls massive amounts of nitrogen from the soil. It is naturally loaded with nitrate.
Okay, so it has natural nitrates. But isn't natural better than the synthetic curing salt they used to use?
Not once the food scientists get involved.
Oh.
The manufacturers add this highly concentrated celery powder into the meat tumbler. But nitrate by itself doesn't actually cure meat. It doesn't give it that pink color or stop bacterial growth. It has to be converted into nitrite.
Nitrate, with an I.
Right. So along with the celery powder, the manufacturers add a specific bacterial culture to the meat vat.
Wait, they add bacteria to the raw meat.
Yes, usually a lactic acid starter culture. That bacteria digests the natural nitrate from the celery and physically converts it into nitrite.
Wait, so the bacteria eats the celery dust and spits out nitrite?
Basically, yeah.
Is that nitrite any different from the synthetic chemical nitrite they used to just pour out of a bag?
No. It is the exact same chemical molecule.
You've got to be kidding me.
Whether the nitrate was synthesized in a chemical plant or converted from celery powder by bacteria in a meat vat, it is chemically identical once it's in the product. It preserves the color, it extends the shelf life, and critically, it reacts inside your body in the exact same way.
So it's a total lie.
Legally, the USDA allows it to be called uncured because the synthetic curing agent wasn't directly added, but functionally, it is entirely cured.
Just wild.
Consumer Reports actually ran laboratory tests on this. They found that meats labeled no nitrates added carried essentially the same and sometimes even higher nitrate levels as the traditional explicitly cured versions.
Higher levels.
Yeah. You are paying a premium price for the illusion of a cleaner label, but you are eating chemically the exact same sandwich.
That feels like it should be illegal.
It's definitely misleading.
And this brings us to the actual medical reality of eating these engineered loaves, right?
Right.
Because this isn't just about feeling tricked at the grocery store.
No, the health implications are severe.
Yeah, I was reading the data we pulled from the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine and the American Heart Association, and it is incredibly sobering. Why is everyone so terrified of these nitrites, whether they come from celery or a lab?
We really need to take this very seriously. The World Health Organization classifies processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen.
Group 1. That's the same category as tobacco smoke and asbestos. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It means there is sufficient definitive epidemiological evidence that it causes cancer in humans.
Wow.
And the statistics are highly specific and alarming. Eating just 50 grams of processed meat a day increases your relative risk of colorectal cancer by 18%.
What does 50 grams look like in the real world? Like, how much sandwich is that?
It is shockingly small. 50 grams is roughly 2 to 3 standard slices of deli meat, or a single hot dog.
2 slices.
Just 2 or 3. In a major 2023 analysis published in the BMJ, consistent consumption of just 50 grams or more per day showed that exact 15 to 18% higher risk compared to low consumption groups.
That is terrifying.
And we have to look at the broader public health context here. Colorectal cancer is currently rising rapidly in young men and women in the United States. It is quickly becoming a leading cause of cancer death for adults in their 20s and 30s.
But how does a turkey slice actually cause cancer? I need you to explain the mechanism here because it just sounds crazy that a sandwich can mutate my cells.
It all comes down to what happens during digestion.
Okay.
When you consume those nitrites we just discussed, they enter the highly acidic environment of your stomach. In that acid, the nitrites form nitrous acid.
Nitrous acid, got it.
This acid then reacts with the amines, which are organic compounds naturally found in the meat proteins, to form what are called N-nitroso compounds, or NOCs.
Okay, so the preservative meets the meat protein in my stomach acid, and they create this new compound, NOCs. What do NOCs actually do?
NOCs are potent alkylating agents. When they reach your lower intestine and colon, they physically attach alkyl groups to the DNA bases in the cells lining your colon.
They attach to the DNA.
Yes. This attachment damages the DNA structure. When those cells try to replicate, the damaged DNA causes mispairing.
Mispairing, meaning a mutation.
Exactly. That mispairing is a mutation. If the cell's repair mechanisms can't fix it, that mutated cell can begin to divide uncontrollably. That is the genesis of a cancer cell.
That is terrifyingly clear. Just a direct line from the preservative to the DNA damage.
It is.
And that's just from the preservatives. What about the actual cooking process?
The manufacturing process adds entirely different risks. If the processed meat is cooked at high temperatures, it forms HAAs, or heterocyclic aromatic amines.
HAAs.
This happens when the creatine in the muscle reacts with amino acids under high heat, and if the meat is smoked, even artificially, it can absorb PAHs, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are generated during the incomplete combustion of organic matter.
So you're getting hit from all sides.
You are. Both HAAs and BAH are known to damage DNA. And on top of all of that, the heme iron naturally present in animal tissue can also act as a catalyst for cellular damage in the gut.
It is literally a perfect storm of cellular destruction.
It really is.
And that is just the cancer risk. We haven't even touched on the heart disease aspect yet.
Right, and from a cardiovascular standpoint, the data is equally grim. A major study highlighted by the PCRM found that consuming more than 150 grams of processed meat a week.
Which is how much?
About 5.3 ounces, or essentially just 2 normal-sized sandwiches a wit.
Okay.
That amount increases the risk of heart disease by 46%.
Almost a 50% increase in heart disease risk from just 2 sandwiches a week. What is triggering that? Is it the cholesterol in the meat?
While saturated fat and cholesterol certainly play a role, a massive part of this cardiovascular risk is tied directly to the astronomical sodium content used to preserve and plump the meat.
Let's talk about the salt, because the numbers from the Eat This, Not That analysis were staggering to me.
They are very high.
The American Heart Association recommends an upper limit of 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day for a healthy adult. That is just one tiny teaspoon of salt for your entire day. And if you have high blood pressure, they want you under 1,500 milligrams.
Right.
How much salt is actually hiding in these slices?
To put it in perspective, let's look at the budget brands. A single serving of Bar S chicken bologna contains 370 milligrams of sodium.
That sounds like a lot.
It is, but the real deception lies in the serving size.
Oh, they play with the serving size.
They do. A standard serving of deli meat for most people building a sandwich is usually around 2 to 3 ounces. But the Bar S serving size on the nutrition label is manipulated down to just 32 grams, which is about 1.1 ounces.
So they shrink the serving size on the label so the sodium number doesn't look as scary.
Exactly.
But if I eat a normal 2-ounce portion, I'm eating double that.
Double. If you eat a normal portion, you are consuming over 650 milligrams of sodium. That is almost half your entire daily allowance if you have high blood pressure.
And that is just from the meat alone, not the bread, the cheese, or the condiments.
Right. Or take the great value thin sliced hard salami from Walmart. It has 480 milligrams of sodium in just a 1-ounce serving.
480 in 1 ounce.
If you stack a sandwich with 3 ounces, you are flooding your system with nearly 1,500 milligrams of sodium in a single sitting.
Walk me through what happens to my heart when I eat 1,500 milligrams of sodium in 5 minutes.
Well, when you flood your bloodstream with that much sodium, your body retains massive amounts of water to try and dilute it.
To balance it out.
Exactly. This sudden increase in blood volume puts immense physical strain on the walls of your blood vessels. The delicate inner lining of your blood vessels, which is called the endothelium, becomes damaged.
Okay, the endothelium gets damaged.
It reduces the production of nitric oxide, which is a molecule your body really needs to keep the blood vessels relaxed and flexible. Without it, your arteries stiffen, your blood pressure skyrockets, and this mechanical stress directly accelerates the buildup of plaque in the arteries.
Which leads to heart disease.
Heart disease and stroke, yes.
Okay, I am officially terrified of my fridge right now.
It's a lot of hidden danger.
It really is. Knowing all these chemical tricks, the water pumping, the myosin glue, the seaweed gums, the painted edges, the fake health halos of celery powder, and understanding the severe mechanical and cellular damage happening to our DNA and our hearts, we need to name names.
I agree. We need to look at specific examples.
I want to know exactly what to throw away. Let's dive into the 4 deli turkey brands that completely failed the test for 2026.
Analyzing these specific brands is highly instructive because it allows us to really see the different tiers of industry deception. We can see everything from the budget-level saltwater pumping all the way up to the biological hazards hidden behind premium, trusted price tags.
So coming in at number 1 on our void list, the absolute bottom of the barrel is Buddig. In the massive tasting table brand rankings, Buddig Deli Turkey ranked dead last. And looking at the data, I can completely see why.
Yeah, Buddig represents the most heavily processed, chemically dependent end of the spectrum. To their credit, they don't hide it well.
Right, it says it right on the package.
The package explicitly admits that the product is smoked, chopped, and pressed. But the ingredient list is a masterclass in food engineering. It relies incredibly heavily on carrageenan to hold its shape. It uses dextrose as a sweetener, and it relies on an enormous amount of saltwater brine.
As we discussed, up to a 15% solution.
Exactly.
The tasting table review was absolutely brutal. They said the slices were incredibly small, thin, and round, and that it resembled childhood bologna more than actual poultry. But they actually said it was worse than bologna.
That's a low bar.
They called it rubbery, chewy, and intensely salty. I mean, at 90 calories and a whopping 530 milligrams of sodium per tiny serving, it feels like they are just selling us cheap saltwater held together by seaweed.
From a structural standpoint, that is essentially what it is. It looks like a meat product, but it fundamentally lacks the complex texture, the nuanced flavor, and the nutritional profile of actual intact animal muscle.
It's just a delivery vehicle for sodium and water.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Okay, so that's the budget tier.
Okay.
But moving up the price ladder, we have our second brand to avoid, Oscar Mayer Deli Fresh. This one fascinates me because it represents the quintessential middle aisle illusion.
It really does. When you look at Oscar Mayer Deli Fresh in that clear plastic tub, the physical presentation isn't terrible. The slices separate easily, they are generally uniform in shape, and they're decently sized for a piece of bread.
Yeah, it looks normal.
Visually, it tricks the consumer's brain into thinking, okay, this is standard, safe deli meat.
But then you read the back of the tub.
The ingredient list is where the illusion completely falls apart. It is a highly engineered mixture. Alongside the turkey and water, you find dextrose, sugar, modified cornstarch, and carrageenan.
Sugar and modified cornstarch.
You are getting multiple forms of industrial sweeteners and thickeners in a product that should theoretically just be roasted poultry.
Why do they even need sugar and modified cornstarch in turkey? It makes no sense.
Well, the modified cornstarch works alongside the carrageenan to bind even more water and improve the sliceability of the loaf.
Well, water weight.
Exactly. And the dextrose and sugar are there to mask the harsh, metallic, overly salty flavor that results from the heavy processing and the phosphate injections.
And apparently, you can really taste it. The reviewers noted that Oscar Mayer turkey is almost sickeningly sweet. It has this unnatural, chemical-flavored aftertaste.
Which is the sweeteners trying to cover up the processing.
Right. Like if you drowned your sandwich in mayonnaise and spicy mustard, your brain might not register it, but if you eat a slice on its own, it tastes like a laboratory's approximation of what a turkey should taste like.
Which brings us to the third brand to avoid. And from a consumer psychology standpoint, this one represents a profound symbolic betrayal.
Yes, it does.
The brand is Butterball.
This one actually hurts. Butterball is the absolute, unquestioned authority on turkey in the American mind.
They own the turkey market.
They literally own Thanksgiving. They have the Butterball hotline. There's so much psychological trust built into that specific brand name. If anyone on earth should give you a real, honest slice of roasted turkey breast, it should be the people who built an empire on turkeys.
Yet when we analyze their deli labels, specifically products like the Butterball honey roasted turkey, we find the exact same engineered playbook used by the budget brands.
You're kidding.
I really wish I were. The ingredient list features turkey broth, dextrose, carrageenan, vinegar, and sodium phosphate.
Seaweed gum and phosphates again.
The unquestioned turkey authority is pumping their meat with extra broth, locking it down with seaweed gum, and using sodium phosphates to manipulate the water retention of the muscle proteins.
That proves a terrifying point. This chemical cocktail isn't just a shortcut used by cheap, bottom-tier brands trying to save a buck.
No, it's not.
It is the industry standard. Butterball optimized for maximum yield and profit over authenticity. They took their incredibly trusted generational brand name and slapped it on the exact same restructured water-enhanced loaf as everyone else.
It demonstrates that you cannot rely on brand heritage to guarantee food purity.
You really can't.
And that leads us to the ultimate failure of trust, the fourth brand on our list to avoid.
Here's where it gets really interesting. And honestly, this is the one that shocked me the most. This is just tragic. Boar's Head.
For a century, Boar's Head was positioned as the absolute premium, no fillers, no shortcuts brand.
They were the gold standard.
They were. People willfully paid a significant premium, sometimes $15 a pound or more, because they deeply believed that extra money bought them out of the highly processed, corner-cutting world we've been describing today.
I used to buy Boar's Head specifically because I thought I was protecting my family from the cheap stuff.
Oh.
But as we've learned, trust is an ingredient a brand never actually has to list on the label.
And in late 2024 and into 2025, that trust completely collapsed to a deadly reality.
What exactly happened?
The statistics are now a matter of grim public health record. A massive Listeria monocytogenes outbreak was traced directly to a Boar's Head manufacturing plant in Jarrett, Virginia.
Listeria.
Yes. Listeria is a particularly virulent bacteria that thrives in cold, wet environments like a refrigerated meat processing plant. When consumed, it can cause listeriosis, which has a very high mortality rate, especially for the elderly, pregnant women, and the immunocompromised.
And the human cost of this outbreak was horrific.
It was. The outbreak resulted in 10 confirmed deaths across 19 states and dozens of severe hospitalizations. The company was forced to recall over 7 million pounds of product across 71 different deli items.
But the part that absolutely turned my stomach was reading the USDA inspection records that came out after the recall.
They were damning.
What did the federal inspectors actually find inside this premium, trusted facility?
The USDA records revealed a catastrophic breakdown of basic sanitation. Inspectors had documented 69 distinct violations at that specific Virginia plant in the year prior to the deadly outbreak.
60 deadly violations.
We are talking about federal inspectors logging reports of heavy black mold and mildew on the walls, insect infestations near the food processing lines, raw meat residue left caked on equipment overnight.
That is so gross.
Condensation from the ceilings dripping directly onto exposed meat products, and literal pools of blood left standing on the floor.
Blood pools and black mold. In the facility charging $15 a pound for premium turkey.
A federal report cited deeply inadequate sanitation protocols, and the plant was eventually shut down permanently.
Wow.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of consumer psychology, it is a devastating revelation. The premium price that listeners paid for peace of mind, the extra dollars they spent specifically to ensure their family was eating the safest, cleanest option, actually bought them products manufactured in the worst documented facility on this entire list.
That's wild.
It proves definitively that a premium price tag is absolutely no guarantee of safety or quality if the underlying corporate practices are flawed.
It is the ultimate betrayal of the consumer. So if the most expensive, most trusted brand at the deli counter is compromised by black mold and listeria, and the cheap brands are just saltwater and seaweed gum, how do you actually find real meat?
We need to establish the criteria for true quality.
Yes, we need to teach people how to spot the real thing.
Establishing those criteria begins by dispelling some modern misinformation. We have to address the myth of the microwave test that has gone viral on social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, I've seen this a million times.
I'm sure you have.
People take a slice of cheap deli turkey, put it on a paper plate, and put it in the microwave for a minute. When they pull it out, the meat has curled up and turned into this hard, shiny, rubbery disc. They hold it up to the camera and scream, "Look, it's plastic! The government is feeding us synthetic fake meat."
Right, and it is entirely false.
It's not plastic.
It is not plastic. It is real turkey muscle, but it has been badly engineered, and the microwave is just exposing that engineering through thermodynamics.
Break down the physics for me. Why does it turn into a rubber disc if it's not plastic?
When you microwave that heavily processed slice, the intense rapid heat interacts violently with the sodium phosphates and the hydrocolloid gums, the carrageenan, that are holding all that artificial water weight.
Okay.
The microwave causes the massive amount of trapped water to rapidly boil and evaporate. As the water leaves, the specific chemical binders denature and the 3D gel matrix collapses.
So the gel just fails.
Yes. This rapid dehydration and structural collapse caused the meat fibers to violently curl, shrink, and fuse into that hard, rubbery texture.
So it's not plastic, it's just the chemical glue failing under heat.
Exactly. Chasing this plastic myth actually makes you an easier target for food fraud because you're looking for a completely synthetic product that doesn't exist, rather than looking for the real issue, which is the chemical adulteration of real animal protein.
Okay, so if we aren't looking for plastic, what visual cues are we looking for? I think this brings us to what I love to call the ugly turkey rule. Real, high-quality, whole muscle turkey is inherently ugly.
That is an excellent way to conceptualize it. Explain your rule.
Think of a real slice of turkey like a piece of natural wood. A real plank of wood has a distinct grain, it has a direction to the fibers, it has knots, and the edges of the plank never perfectly match each other.
Right, it's natural.
Muscle tissue is exactly the same. If you look at a slice of deli meat, and every single slice in the package is a flawless, grainless, perfectly symmetrical oval with totally smooth edges, you are looking at a manufactured composite loaf.
That is a perfect analogy. You want to see the directional muscle fibers. When you pull the meat apart, it should tear unevenly along those fiber lines, not snap smoothly like a piece of rubber.
Right, you want irregular edges.
You want irregular edges. You want to see the natural variations in the tissue.
Beyond the visual ugly test, what are the strict nutritional and labeling benchmarks we should demand when reading the package?
First, you must look for the words whole muscle explicitly printed on the package.
Whole muscle.
Under USDA guidelines, this indicates the product is carved from an intact piece of meat and has not been chopped, mechanically tumbled, and glued back together with myosin.
And the ingredient list, what should that look like?
It should be incredibly boring.
Boring is good.
It should essentially read, turkey breast, water, and salt. That is it. No carrageenan, no modified cornstarch, no dextrose, absolutely no caramel color, and ideally you want to avoid the celery powder uncured loophole to minimize nitrite exposure.
And what about the sodium levels? We talked about how dangerous 600 milligrams a slice is.
You want to look for brands that keep their sodium levels well under 300 milligrams per serving. And if you are building a sandwich, caterers and nutritionists strongly suggest pairing that low-sodium turkey with a low-sodium Swiss cheese.
Why Swiss specifically?
Because of how it is cultured and aged, Swiss cheese naturally averages roughly 55 milligrams of sodium per slice.
Well, that's really low.
That is dramatically lower than standard American cheese, which can carry upwards of 270 milligrams of sodium per slice. By pairing whole muscle turkey with Swiss cheese, you anchor a genuinely health-forward meal that won't destroy your endothelial cells.
Okay, now that we know exactly what a high-quality slice looks like, acts like, and reads like, let's get to the good stuff.
Let's do it.
I want to spend my money wisely. Let's reveal the 4 options that actually justify spending your hard-earned cash. If we are going to drop around $8.88 for a premium package or a pound of meat at the counter, what are the 4 real deli turkey options in 2026 that deliver actual food, not a science experiment?
Leading the pack and ranked #1 on the comprehensive tasting table list is a brand called Dietz & Watson.
Now, I looked at their label and I have to ask, it's not absolutely perfect, right?
Yeah.
And notice they do include a tiny bit of dry milk and sugar in their preparation. Why do they get the #1 spot if they have sugar?
They earn the top spot not for absolute purity, but because of how they prepare the meat compared to the rest of the industry. Dietz & Watson does not paint their turkey with fake caramel coloring to simulate a roast. Instead, the meat is legitimately browned in canola oil.
So they actually cook it.
Yes. They achieve a real Maillard reaction. That preparation method makes a massive difference in the final biochemical profile and texture of the product. It yields a dry, fresh texture.
Which is what you want.
When reviewers tasted Dietz & Watson, they noted that it actually tasted like freshly cooked slices of poultry you would make at home. It offers a clean, light flavor without relying on fake, synthesized smoke flavors, and it isn't weighed down by massive amounts of excess water weeping out of the tissue.
It acts like real meat.
It behaves like real meat because it is treated much closer to real meat.
Next up, our second winner, and this is the one I am most excited about, Applegate Naturals. This is what we call the clean label hero. If you are looking for an ingredient list that makes sense to a normal human being, this is the one you buy.
Applegate's oven-roasted turkey contains a beautifully simple list. It reads, turkey breast, water, salt, potato starch, turkey broth, and rosemary extract.
That's it.
That is a radically transparent label compared to the industry standard. Furthermore, we have to look at their supply chain. Their agricultural practices mandate that the farms they source from use absolutely no antibiotics.
Why is the antibiotic-free part so important for a deli slice?
Because the massive overuse of prophylactic antibiotics in industrial poultry farming is a major driver of antibiotic-resistant bacteria, which is a looming global public health crisis.
Right.
By refusing to source from those farms, Applegate is preserving the efficacy of medical antibiotics. And from a culinary perspective, you can literally feel the difference when you hold a slice of their turkey.
I've bought it, and it feels completely different. It feels like fresh muscle. Doesn't feel like a wet sponge that's been pressed in a factory mold. It is lightly salted, it isn't overpowering, and it offers exactly as much real flavor as a turkey naturally can. Now, you only get about 8 slices in a package, so it is a premium price for a smaller yield. But the quality of those slices is undeniable. It's sturdy, real food.
For our third option, we look strictly to the data. The Simple Truth Organic brand, which is a store brand particularly highlighted by Fry's Food Stores and Kroger, is our data-backed winner.
It's so surprising to see supermarket store brand make the premium list. Usually, sole brands are the ones cutting the most corners to keep the price down.
In an era where that is generally true, Simple Truth Organic proves a massive exception. It scores incredibly high on objective nutritional algorithms. For instance, it boasts an 88 out of 100 rating on the independent Yuka app, which scans barcodes and analyzes ingredients against current health data.
It also crushes the food health scores.
Yeah.
I was reading up on how Fry's uses this system. They rate foods from 0 to 100 based on 2 specific metrics: nutrient density and ingredient quality.
Which are crucial.
Simple Truth Organic wins big on nutrient density because it is packed with high-quality whole muscle protein without the saturated fats. And it wins on ingredient quality because there are no artificial additives, no refined starches, and no mystery chemical preservatives. It proves that a grocery store's own organic line can occasionally step up and completely beat the legacy deli brands at their own game.
Finally, our fourth option isn't a national brand you can find in a plastic tub at all. It is a behavioral shift.
Ooh, I love this one.
The absolute cleanest option, the one that entirely defeats the industrial food machine, is what we call the roast-it-yourself option, utilizing your local butcher.
Yes, this is the ultimate hack. I started doing this a few months ago, and it changed my life. You bypass the deli counter and the prepackaged aisle entirely. You go to a local butcher, someone who can literally point to a map and tell you the exact farm where the bird was raised.
You know exactly what you're getting.
You buy a whole raw turkey breast. You take it home on a Sunday, you rub it with olive oil, salt, and pepper, and you just roast it in your own oven. Then you put it in a glass container in the fridge and slice it yourself for your sandwiches throughout the week.
From both a nutritional and an economic standpoint, this method is unparalleled. Because you roasted it, it will not hold any artificial excess water. It will not be a perfectly round, engineered oval. It will be the epitome of the ugly turkey we championed earlier.
Ugly but delicious.
And critically, when you do the math on the cost per ounce of pure protein, it often costs significantly less per pound than buying the premium, pre-sliced deli brands.
Because you aren't paying for the 15% saltwater solution or the plastic tub.
Exactly. You are achieving a 100% yield on honesty. You control the sodium level entirely, you eliminate all synthetic binders and preservatives, and you consume exactly what you intended to consume, intact animal protein.
It's a little more work on a Sunday afternoon, but the payoff for your health and your wallet is massive.
So let's take a breath and recap this crazy journey we've been on. We started by looking in our fridge and realizing that our fresh, safe deli slices are very often just glued together meat sponges, pumped full of salt water, bound with red seaweed gum, painted with soda dye, and preserved with bacterial-converted celery dust.
And we identified the severe health risks tied to those chemical tricks, from a 46% spike in heart disease risk due to extreme sodium loads, to the World Health Organization classifying processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen due to the DNA-damaging NOCs and HAAs. We named the worst offenders, from Buddig's saltwater bologna logs to the absolute tragic failure of sanitation at Boar's Head. And most importantly, we learned how to seek out the ugly, whole muscle, real alternatives like Dietz & Watson, Applegate, and Simple Truth Organic, or just roasting it ourselves.
The overarching lesson here is about consumer empowerment. The next time you are standing at the deli counter or walking down the refrigerated aisle, you have the analytical tools to read the actual name of the product and the fine print on the back, rather than being manipulated by the marketing imagery on the front.
You're not just flying blind anymore.
Exactly. You know what sectioned and formed means structurally. You know what a 15% solution really costs you financially.
But before we sign off, I want to ask you about one last thing from our research pile.
Yeah.
You flagged something from the FDA that I didn't fully understand.
Yes. This brings us to recent regulatory actions that validate everything we've discussed today. The FDA has recently updated its Food Traceability List, or the FTL.
The FTL.
Under immense public and congressional scrutiny, the FDA has officially classified ready-to-eat deli salads and soft cheeses as high-risk foods.
High risk. What does that actually mean for the industry?
It means these products now require intense critical tracking events, or CTEs. A CTE is a strict regulatory framework where the FDA demands key data elements to map every single step of a food's journey through the supply chain.
From start to finish.
From the moment the turkey is slaughtered, through the tumbling and curing facilities, onto the refrigerated trucks and into the deli counter. The deli sector is currently under massive federal scrutiny.
Why now? Why is the FDA suddenly cracking down on lunch meat?
Because the supply chain has completely ceased to be about simple farming. As we've explored today, it has become a highly complex, deeply opaque web of chemical engineering and industrial assembly. When you combine chopped meat from hundreds of different farms, pump it full of water, and ship it across the country, a single sanitation failure, like we saw at Boar's Head, can kill people across multiple states. The federal government is finally acknowledging that the deli counter, because of this intense engineering, is a high-risk zone for public health.
So what does this all mean for us? For the people just trying to make a sandwich? For decades, we as consumers demanded that our food look absolutely perfect. We wanted flawless, uniform, pristine, round slices of meat that never spoiled, stayed moist all day, and cost next to nothing. And the food industry heard us.
They delivered exactly what was asked for.
But they responded not by farming better, but by engineering perfect-looking fakes in laboratories and tumblers. If we want to reclaim our health, if we want to eat real food again and avoid these DNA-damaging chemical cocktails, we have to fundamentally rewire our brains to accept that nature is inconsistent.
I couldn't agree more. The future of a healthy diet isn't about finding the perfect, symmetrical, brightly painted slice of meat. It is about learning to embrace the irregular, the unpainted, and the natural.
It's a mindset shift.
It is. It is about understanding that real food degrades, real meat has grain, and real nutrition cannot be optimized in a tumbling vat.
It's about learning to love the ugly slice. I encourage you right after this to go to your fridge, pull out that plastic tub or that white deli paper, and check the back of the package. Look past the green leaves and the marketing words. See for yourself if you have been buying a real whole muscle roast or a restructured, glued-together loaf.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, read the fine print, and we will see you next time.